Hi and welcome to this introductory video to the Business Administration SVQ at SCQF Level 6. Just going to give you a rundown of the programme, what this programme's about, the sort of job roles it's for, what it is you're going to be doing as part of this award, and the various components that you have to complete to make up the award. So this is for Business Administration at SCQF Level 6. Sometimes it's referred to as an SVQ Level 3 in Business Administration. They are both the same award. One is just the older terminology for the level. So we get started. What is an SVQ? So SVQ stands for Scottish Vocational Qualification. It's a competency-based qualification, so it's going to be a bit different to anything you might have experienced coming from school, college or university, depending on your background, and that it is performance-based more than theoretical knowledge and understanding. So what this is about putting together a portfolio of evidence that proves that you're competent at your job and that you can perform certain skills within the workplace. That's where the emphasis is. It's not so much on reading from a textbook and writing up a theory about a concept that's relevant to business administration. This is about documenting and evidencing that you can perform these skills in the workplace. Essentially, you should be able to pass this award if you're able to perform the relevant job role in the workplace. An SVQ offers those who are 16 or over paid employment with the opportunity to train for jobs at craft technician and management level. So this one's SCQF Level 6. Modern apprenticeships are developed by Sector Skills Councils or SSCs. They consult with employers and key partners in their sector to produce a training programme which meets the needs of employers. So SVQs are developed by these Sector Skills Councils. These contain people who work in industry, who work for the awarding body, who work in education, and of course the employers within this industry. And that way, when they're producing the frameworks, when they're producing the units, the competencies that are held within them are relevant, they're up to date and they're current on what employers are looking for learners to be able to perform in the workplace. Vocational competency-based qualification, as I've already mentioned, that means it is something that you are able to perform in the workplace. It is to demonstrate you're competent actually doing it. It's not about what you know, it's not about what theories you know, it's not about analysing particular problems, writing essays or sitting exams. It's about demonstrating that you can perform these skills in the workplace. To any SVQ, there's three main components. So the first part and the main part of it is a relevant Scottish vocational qualification. The second component is a core skills element, and the third part of it is some industry specific training. So business administration, all businesses have a business administration function. It's fundamental to businesses of all sizes, of all types, various different industries. And essentially it's where someone will provide business support services, typically in an office, but that's not necessarily always the case now. It fits a wide variety of different roles. It's a very flexible framework, as there's a large number of optional units to choose from, and we'll come on to that in a later slide as we go through some of the units which you might want to complete. It's also a widely recognised qualification. This qualification has been around for a very long time. You might find that within your organisation there are people who are experienced, who have been there a long time and have completed this SVQ when they were younger, and it shows you how long this has been around. And what that means is that employers will recognise this. It's widely recognised as a route into working within an office environment. So what are you going to get out of this award? What is it you're working towards? What is it you're going to gain from it? So the first thing, you're going to get a Modern Apprenticeship certificate. So that's a certificate that comes from, essentially it's the Sector Skills Council, and it proves that you completed all three components of the Modern Apprenticeship. You're also going to get your SQA certificate, and that's for your SVQ component of it. So it's a separate certificate for that one component that is your SVQ. You've also got your core skills enhancement. We'll speak a wee bit more about core skills, what they mean in a later slide as well. But you'll also be separately certificated from them, and that'll be an additional certificate that you'll get. And the fourth thing you're going to get out of this is a portfolio of evidence demonstrating your competency and your role. That can be very useful for any sort of internal meetings about your performance, so maybe one-to-ones, monthly one-to-ones. You could use it at appraisals, yearly appraisals, probationary reviews, and it's good evidence that you're able to perform certain tasks in the workplace to a competent standard. Might also be useful for demonstrating your work if you're going forward for employment elsewhere as well. So let's have a look at, this is the SCQF framework, and this is just to demonstrate and explain where this qualification sits within the sort of wider variety of qualifications that you can gain in Scotland. So this is an SVQ Level 3, which is equivalent, which is at the level SCQF Level 6. They both mean the same thing, and it sits around this level here. It sits in the column that is for apprenticeships and SVQs on the end here. So this is where this qualification sits on that framework. As you can see, it is equivalent to a higher. So it's equivalent to higher in terms of the qualifications you'd get from school. Slightly less than HNC, where it sits there on the table. I will say there is more to this award than sitting one higher, but in terms of the level of difficulty on that framework, that's where this qualification sits. So in terms of progression routes, there's a number of places which you may progress on to once you've completed this qualification. So it's just to outline some of the options that you may have. Now, not all of these options are going to suit everyone. You may find that there's only certain opportunities available to you, and that depends on your employer and your particular situation. But this is to give you an idea of the sorts of places where people progress on to once they've completed this award. So the first thing that everyone should really be doing once they've completed this award is to progress on to career within your industry. Not everyone will sit an SVQ or a modern apprenticeship straight out from school or education. Some, it might be a case of reskilling, moving into a different role, or gaining additional training within a role that you're already into. But either way, you will progress on to a career within your industry that you work in. You may specialise in a particular role, so you may be progressing in terms of specialisation in a particular role or particular function within your business. You could progress on to an SCQF Level 8 SVQ in Business Administration, which is the next level up. You could go on and complete another apprenticeship in a relevant framework, such as business management or leadership. There's also potential to go on and complete business-related HNCs or HNDs at colleges. Alternatively, you could progress on and do another professional qualification that's at SCQF Level 7 or above. So let's have a wee look at the overview for this particular qualification, and I can outline the different components that you're going to be completing. The duration for this programme is 9 to 12 months. Now, the duration will vary as each portfolio is individual to the learner, so to yourselves, and it depends on sort of your abilities, depends on the role that you're working in, the organisation that you're working in, and your particular circumstances, to exactly how long that duration lasts for. There is also some flexibility at the 12-month mark if you haven't completed the award by that time. If there's a good reason for that, it can be extended if required, but there has to be some form of justification for why we're doing that. So we have a look at it. So you've got your modern apprenticeship, so that's the whole award, and within that you've got various components. So the first one, as already mentioned, is your Business Administration SVQF Level 6. Now within this component of your modern apprenticeship, it can be split into two parts. So the first part is your mandatory units. So these are units which everyone on this programme must complete to get through the award. Now the 3 units for this are fairly broad, and they'll fit almost every job role that will be on this programme. You will be able to complete that. It is on things such as communication, managing your time, prioritising tasks, these core skills, these essential skills which everyone must complete when they're working in an office environment. But there's no choice in those, you have to do them. The other component is your optional units, and for this award you must select up to 5, or you must select 5 optional units. You can do more, but you can't do any less. So you must complete 5 optional units for this award, and you get to select the units which are most relevant to your role from the framework. And there are certain rules of combination which we'll go over on a later slide. Now, in addition to this first sort of component, the Business Administration SVQ, you've also got the Enhancement unit, which you have to complete. Now, an Enhancement unit is essentially additional units which aren't part of that business administration framework, which you have to complete. And there's a few different options for you, which again we'll come to explain in more detail later on. And the third and final component of your modern apprenticeship is your core skills, which you have to complete. And for this award, you have to have numeracy and complete numeracy at SCQF level 5 and also ICT at SCQF level 5. And again, we're going to go into each of these components in a bit more detail. Now, there are more core skills as part of this, but they are embedded, which means you don't have to do anything for them. But these two here, numeracy and ICT, you must complete if you haven't already got them. So let's have a look now through the framework. So if we have a look at this is what the framework looks like. You can find this framework, it'll either be provided to you, or you can search it up online by putting in any search engine and searching up for Business Administration SVQ Level 6 framework, and you'll be able to find it on there. Now the framework's broken down into different groups. So we'll start here with our mandatory units. You'll also see that there's different columns. So you've got the SQA number, NOS number, and SSC unit number, and you've got the unit title. So if you see any unit on here which you think you'd like to complete or you want to know more about, maybe you want to find out exactly what's involved. I think I might be able to complete that unit in the workplace, but I'm not really sure what sort of tasks I need to complete, and you want to have more information on it. All you have to do is search up the SSC unit number. So you'd put into a search engine, for example, S308, followed by the letters SQA, so space SQA. And if you put that into a search engine, usually within the top 2 or 3 results will be a PDF, and it'll have the unit guide for that unit, which will outline what the unit's all about, give you a description of the unit, and it'll outline the performance points what you need to cover to complete that unit. So for any of these units that we're about to go over, if you want to find out more about it, best way to do that is just to Google or put into any search engine the SSC unit number, and that will provide you with a PDF of that particular unit. So these are the 3 mandatory units. First one, plan how to manage and improve your own performance in a business environment. This one's about how you organise your time, how you set up your calendar, how you negotiate timescales and deadlines, keep people updated with progress, that sort of thing. S302, review and maintain working in business environments, but how you select equipment and resources which is best value for money, how you minimise waste, how you use equipment correctly and properly, and how you follow certain procedures around security and confidentiality. And the third optional unit is S308, communicate in a business environment. This unit is about communicating in a written format and communicating in a verbal format, and being able to select the most appropriate method of communication for a given situation. But again, if you want to look into this in more detail, simply look up online, for example, S308 followed by space SQA, and you'll get the unit guides on there. These units, obviously from what I've covered there, sound pretty broad, so everyone's role should be able to cover them. And like I said, there's no choice. If you want to do this award, you have to do those units. So we move on now to have a look at the optional units. Now you see that the optional units are split into different groups, and you can only do a certain number of units from each group. Okay. In addition to that, you'll also find that there's certain rules of combination that are specific to units, and that's where you get these little letters. So if we look there at S311, design and produce documents in a business environment, it's got a little letter A there. On the framework, that will explain what other units you can't complete at the same time as completing this unit. So that is something to watch out for, but it is something that your assessor will be able to guide you on when it comes to looking at specific units. So if we look at Group B here, it says up the top that 3 to 5 units must be selected. So you must select a minimum of 3 units from this group, but you could also choose to do all 5 of your units, of your optional units from this grouping as well, should you want to. All the units in Group B are at SCQF Level 6 or SVQ Level 3, which is the same level, it's just a different way of putting it. And the way to identify that is that the SSC code starts with S3, so 3 being the level, SVQ Level 3. And again, if you want to have a look at any of these units, find out what they mean. If it suits your role, just Google that number, have a look on it, have a look for it online. So solve business problems, support other people to work in a business environment, contribute to decision making in a business environment, contribute to negotiations in a business environment, allocate work to team members, Those first few units are quite broad, and they assess the sort of softer skill set that's required for working in an office environment. It's all about working with other people. It's all about problem solving in an environment, a business environment. It's all about coming up with solutions to problems, designing documents, that sort of thing. There's nothing overly technical within them or specific to any individual role. As you get further down the list, you find that a lot of the units are specific to certain roles. So, for example, contributing to running a project, well, that would only be suitable for someone who is working in a sort of project coordination, maybe project management role. If we go on now to the next group of units, the next slide, actually, this is all part of the same units. You see there's another good sort of group of units here. So we've got plan and organise meetings, organise business travel accommodation, deliver, monitor and evaluate customer service to internal or external customers, S325. It's a very, very good unit for customer service, and customer service is a very important part of working a business administration role. The important thing to remember about that unit is it can be for internal or external customers. So you may not be in a customer facing role to customers for your business. However, you might provide services to people within another team that's internal to your organisation. Those would also count as customers for the purpose of that unit. So if you provide a service such as processing some paperwork for another team, producing a PowerPoint presentation for another team, then that would be you providing a service to them, and you'd be able to complete that unit based on those sorts of tasks. We've got develop a presentation and deliver a presentation, two very somewhat similar units. So deliver a presentation leads off where developing it finishes. Support the design and implementation of information systems. It's a little bit more sort of technical, leading on to probably most people have to do that on a database system. Monitor information systems is a good unit if you use things such as email or any sort of database system that contains information. You're dealing with customer records, for example, financial records, booking records, that kind of thing. Analyse report data. It's all about running reports, analysing the reports, understanding them, and presenting them to someone in a way that's easy for them to understand or where they can get valuable information from that. Order products and services is fairly self-explanatory, as is manage budgets. Contribute to innovation in a business environment, that's all about business change. The rest of the units are quite specific, so you'll find that you must be working in a particular industry to be able to complete one of these units. So for example, providing administrative support in schools, you'll have to work in a education environment in order to be able to complete that unit. Same for verify critical dates for sentences. You'd have to work for somewhere in the sort of justice industry for those units. If you work in the legal sector, so if you work for solicitors or in the legal sector, you'll see that there's a few units that might be relevant to you. So administer legal files, build case files, manage case files, they could be relevant units for you. Right, moving on to the next sort of group. So this group's technically a subsection of Group B, and this is the IT optional units, which are part of Group B. You can see here you can only select a maximum of 2 units from this group, and those 2 units count as your units from the last one. So if you do 2 units from here, you only have to select 1 unit from the rest of that Group B grouping that we've just went through there, so they count. If you're looking to just do the minimum for Group B, you could do 2 units from here, and they count as 2 of your 3 that you need to do is from Group B as a whole, but you can't do any more than 2 units from this particular subsection of Group B. All these units are to do with IT, so that means the use of a computer system or the use of software on a computer system. Specialist software and bespoke software is definitely worth mentioning here. Very popular units, and you can complete this. You complete this unit if you're using any sort of database system that holds records, and most people will be using that. So the sort of database systems that we're talking about here would be a CRM system, customer relationship management system, an ERP system, enterprise resource management system, accountancy software, order management software, warehouse management software, booking systems. Any sort of system, any sort of database system where you can input records, look up records, that sort of thing would cover both of these units. They are the exact same unit. You'll notice that the SSE number is the same. The only difference is that specialist software is sort of off-the-shelf software. It's software that you just buy from a provider, whereas bespoke software is software which your organisation has got custom made for it, and you couldn't, other businesses, other organisations wouldn't be able to use that software. But the criteria, the points within each unit are exactly the same. You've got database software 3. That would be more so for people who are creating database systems, where specialist software is more about the use of them. Presentation software, that'd be something like Microsoft PowerPoint, Google Slides, that sort of thing. Spreadsheet software 3, if you use a lot of Excel spreadsheets, that could be a good unit. Or Google Sheets. Collaborative Technology 3, so this unit's a very good unit. Collaborative Technology is essentially any computer application which allows you to work with other people quickly and effectively. So things such as Microsoft Teams is a good example of that. You've got Google Drive, you've got OneDrive, Trello, Slack, Cisco Jabber. There's many different examples. Skype for Business. Any of this software, these applications which allow you to share files quickly, comment the files, work on the same file with someone else at the same time, comment or share documents, is a collaborative technology, so that might be useful. And you've got word processing software 3 there as well, so Microsoft Word, if you use that a lot, you could do a unit on it. Using email 3, it's a good unit, but if you would like to select that unit, I'd definitely look it up first, because some of the criteria in there is quite advanced, in the sense that you might not often complete those functions when you're using email. So things that are a bit obscure that you maybe wouldn't use day to day are on there, such as sending emails with polls, for example. It's not something that everyone does. So if you'd like to do that unit, definitely have a look at the unit guide online before you make that selection. Group C units. So from Group C, you can select 0 to 2 units. You don't have to complete any units from this group. You could complete a maximum of 2 units if you wanted to. The reason for that is you'll notice that the SSE codes start with S2, which means this is SVQ Level 2 units, or SCQF Level 5 units if you want to present it that way. So these are a lower level than the units that are in the previous group. So if you find that there's a unit you've looked at in Group B, but there's some of the criteria on there you don't really do, you feel like it's too advanced for what you're currently expected to do as part of your role, you might find that the unit is available at this level, and you'd be able to then complete it, because you would hopefully be able to cover all the points through your current role. Most of these units are the same. I've got the same names as those in the Group B, so I'll not go through them all. It's just that they are at a lower level, and you can take your time and have a look through that on the framework. Same here. We've got more units on there. There are some units in this group that are actually the level above SVQ Level 4 or SCQF Level 7, which is Explore Ideas for Innovation and Change and Plan Change. So those are the units that start with S4, so S419 and S420. And we've also got a unit on the end there that is SVQ Level 1, which is S112, use occupational safety guidelines when using a workstation. Again, these ones are very specific to certain industries, so if you work in those industries, that's brilliant. If you don't work in them, then obviously you can't complete those units. Okay, so then got to the end there, Group C IT and Finance option units. So much like the Group B IT units, these 2 units count towards your 2 units for Group C. You can only do a maximum of 2, and if you've picked a unit from Group C already, you could then therefore only do a maximum of 1 unit from this subsection of that group. So this IT and Finance optional units. All the sort of IT units are there at the lower level, at the level SVQ Level 2. But you've also got a couple of units about payroll, calculating pay, dealing with income and expenditure, and dealing with financial statements. So there's a few finance units in here as well. So if you work in a finance role, those units might be appropriate for you. Perfect. So the takeaway there from going through that framework is that you can now have a look at that framework online, giving you a bit of guide to how to look up the units. A lot of this will come down to a conversation between you and your assessor about what units you're going to do, what units are suitable for your job role, but at least you're going to have an idea of the kinds of units you might complete. You might have a particular interest in a certain area, and it means you can go into that meeting having an understanding of the sort of units that's available to you, and how many of units from each group that you could complete. What we've got now on the screen there is a unit guide. So there's a couple of different types of unit guides. I just want to have a look at them so you know what you're looking at when you search up the unit codes to get them. So this is the IT unit guide. Up the top you've got the unit code, you've got the unit name, which is Developing Personal and Team Effectiveness using IT3. It explains that there is 4 SVQF level credit points for this unit, so it's 4 credit points. Credit points, what that mean is that is about learning, guided learning hours, so not guided learning hours, it's about learning hours. So 1 credit is equivalent to 10 learning hours. That is not how long you're expected to be working on gathering your evidence or completing assessments. That includes the time it should take to learn how to complete the tasks and to actually carry out those tasks in the workplace as well. So just because it's 4 SVQF credit points doesn't mean you need to be spending 40 hours working on this particular unit to complete it, as in typing up statements. What that means that includes the time where you're actually performing these skills in the workplace. And SVQF level 6 is where that unit sits on the SVQF framework. So if we look into it, you've got 3 columns. The first one's got an outcome. So all your criteria is grouped together into a larger outcome. Now you're not expected to cover the outcome, you're expected to cover the criteria, but that is just the sort of the heading, the grouping that sort of groups individual criteria together. The next column is skills and techniques. That is a performance criteria. So what that means is that is these criteria, you have to demonstrate that you can perform that task, that ability, that skill in the workplace. And knowledge and understanding is that you need to be able to demonstrate that you know or understand that point, that concept, the policy, the procedure. So it's more about your knowledge and understanding as about performing it. So just to explain the difference between the 2 points there, and if you look down each column, you can start to see the criteria and the things that you're looking to do for this unit. If we look on to how the other unit guide looks like, so this is also an IT unit, but it's got the second page on it, and it shows you down the bottom things in bold will be explained down the bottom to say exactly what they mean and the sorts of things you could do to demonstrate that point, and also a summary for it. The CFA unit specification, you'll see more of this for the Business Administration Award. You've got 2 columns there, so you've got up the top you've got the name, you've got the overview at the top, a bit of a summary about what this unit's about. So this is the customer service unit, S325. And then you've got your performance indicators in a column. So these are the skills you have to perform. So you have to be able to show you can build positive working relationships with internal customers, manage expectations of internal customers to make sure they're realistic, identify and confirm internal customer needs, and agree timescales and quality standards with internal customers. So those are all things you've got to be able to show that you can do as part of your job. And if you look at a unit and you see, actually, I don't really do much of that in my job, and you speak with your manager and they say within the next 6 to 12 months you're probably not going to be able to do that, it's not part of your role, then that means that this unit probably isn't going to be suitable for you. If it is the case, actually, a couple of months you're going to be doing that sort of thing, that's what we want you to be doing, then that'd be a great idea to then select this unit. And you've got the knowledge and understanding column, which outlines the sort of questions that you've got to be able to answer and to know about to be able to complete this unit as well on there. So you've got to be able to know what internal customer service means. You've got to know what the benefits are of delivering good customer service. You've got to know what the quality standards are for your team and for your role. So those are things you've got to know if you're doing this unit. So it's just to give you the ability to be able to go and look up these unit guides and to understand what they mean and how they're laid out. Okay, so now we're moving on from that first component, that SVQ component of your modern apprenticeship, and now we're looking at the next component, which is your core skills. So just to explain a little bit about what core skills are, they are fundamental practical skills. They are skills and abilities which employers expect all employees to be able to demonstrate in a wide variety of roles. So what this means are they're quite fundamental. They're something which sort of transcend units. Okay, if I maybe make a bit of a comparison to high school. So if you think about it, when you studied English, and if you write up your essay on a computer, which most people do nowadays, the subject you're studying is English. That's what you're learning. But if you're using a computer, you're demonstrating that you've got an ability to use a computer, to use word processing software, to input information, to type it up, to save it in the right place, to be able to print it out. So when you sat your English exam in school, you would have been accredited for your ICT core skills. You might not have taken ICT, but you'd have been accredited for it because you've been able to demonstrate your ability to use that technology, a core skill that's required for you to do that English qualification, which is to be able to type up essays, save it, and print them out. Same for numeracy. You know, if you study any other class that's got an element of maths in it, so if you studied chemistry, you maybe didn't take maths, but chemistry involves element of maths with their formulas, you'll be able to get certified for your core skill in numeracy. So it's different from the subject that you're studying, but it's a fundamental core practical skill that you get for studying certain qualifications. Okay, and because of that, you should already have core skills from previous SQA qualifications. The only people who won't have those already, people who have sat qualifications somewhere else, not out with Scotland. In which case you'd have to do all of them. If you already have your core skills already from high school or from college, then what we do is RPL it, so that's recognised prior learning, so you don't have to do it again, and that's something that's checked on your first visit with your assessor to see if it's something you need to do or whether we can RPL it. Core skills can be embedded or certified separately. So within each framework, it outlines what core skills you need for this award. Okay, and that's what's in this table below here. So for this award, you need to have communication at minimum of SCQF level 5, so that's SCQF level 5 or above. You must have your numeracy core skill, SCQF level 5 or above. You must have your problem solving skill, the SCQF level 5 or above, and you must have your information and communication technology ICT core skill at a minimum SCQF level 6 or above, and working with others at a minimum SCQF level 5 or above. So you need to have all of them. However, all of those core skills other than numeracy and ICT are what's called embedded. So what that means is within the mandatory units, you will have covered tasks which cover all of those core skill units anyway. So you don't have to do anything additional other than complete those mandatory units, and you can be certified for those other core skills without doing anything. However, for numeracy and for ICT, you require separate certification, which is to say that you'll have they basically sort of look like 2 additional units that are focused on numeracy and focused on ICT, which you're going to have to complete. However, like I said, if you've already got these core skills from previous qualifications, they can be RPL'd, so you don't have to do them again. So if we have a look now at the 2 core skills which you have to do. So the first one, ICT core skill. There's 4 different parts to this unit, so just a wee bit of an explanation of this unit and what you'd have to do. So the first outcome, performing ICT operations. To do this, you'd have to use hardware responsibly and present information. So most things you do on a computer will cover that point. You've got processing information, so that is to carry out non-routine operations, select and launch applications, enter, process and output data. A wide variety of tasks cover those points as well, from using Word documents, using Excel spreadsheets, putting customer records onto a customer relationship management software, or putting an invoice onto a finance application would cover it. Finding information, this outcome's all about looking up information that's on the computer. So processing is all about inputting, it's about putting information onto it. Finding information is about searching it up. So that is about locating information on the computer, using a search strategy. That could be search information online from a search engine. It could be about searching information up on a database system, or just information that's on your computer. Evaluate that information, so working out, have you found information that you had to look for, and evaluate your search strategy, which is that the best way to go about finding that information? Was there a more efficient way? And you've got keeping information safe. So this is all about using passwords, using virus protection, and keeping your information backed up. So ICT, obviously, that would require the use of a computer. The numeracy core skill, so this is the one which I think a lot of learners get a bit concerned about, a bit apprehensive about when they first find out about it. So a couple of key points we'll maybe start with before we look at what's involved in the numeracy unit. So numeracy isn't maths, okay? This isn't a maths test, it's not a maths exam. Numeracy is about the practical application of maths in the workplace. So when you're doing your job, you're going to have to be able to use maths at some point. All jobs will require it to some level. and a lot of time that is enough to start looking at putting evidence into this unit. But it's not a maths test, it's not about using formulas or anything like that. It's all about basic arithmetic really, and being able to apply that in a workplace situation. The assignments aren't assessed under exam conditions, so there's no exam. It's just about getting evidence of tasks you've done in the workplace which demonstrate that you've been able to use numeracy. A lot of times spreadsheets cover this unit. We get a lot of evidence from spreadsheets that will help to do a lot of this unit. And the use of calculators is permitted. You can use calculators for this. You could even use spreadsheet software and have basic formulas to add up cells, divide cells, whatever it might be that you're doing on there. So use of calculators is permitted for numeracy as well. So for this numeracy core skill, there is 2 outcomes which you need to complete. So you've got graphs, so you need to deal with graphs. You need to be able to create a graph and understand the graph, and there's different graph types here which they're looking for you to be able to use. Bar graphs, line graphs, rates of change is just essentially a line graph. And numerical calculations, you have to be able to carry out calculations as well around the use of whole numbers, decimals, percentages, fractions and ratios. You don't have to do all of these, you just have to do a few of them. Rounding answers to specific numbers, so rounding up, rounding down. Basic arithmetic operations, adding, dividing, subtracting and multiplying, dealing with positive and negative numbers as well. Part of this. Okay, and now for the third and final part of this SVQ, this modern apprenticeship, is your enhancement unit. So the information on this slide has been taken from the Modern Apprenticeship Framework document, and there's 4 different types of enhancement units that you could do. There's 4 different options for you. You only have to do one, so you get to select from these what it is that you're looking to do, but you only have to do one of them. There is a lot of different options there. I would say that probably in most situations it would be an additional unit from your Business Administration at SVQF Level 6. So that is an additional unit from your Group B units for the framework, and you could select that as your additional enhancement unit. You could also select an additional a course skill at a higher level. So if you look to do your ICT course skill at SVQF Level 6, then that's a level higher than what you need it for this award. You could select to do that, and that'd be it. And if you have that level 6 already, if you have any course skill at level 6 already, you could RPL your enhancement unit as well, so recognise prior learning. You don't actually have to do anything towards it. You can just say, I've got this course skill unit, SVQF level 6, so I'm going to use that as my enhancement unit, and I've already done it, so I don't have to do anything additional. You could also look to choose an additional unit from another framework. There's many to choose from, and that's more going to be a conversation with your assessor about the sort of units that's relevant, because supplying you with a list of all the units which you could do, there's hundreds of them, so it would be much use to you. Okay, brilliant. So that brings us to the end of this video. So that gives you a bit of an outline of the Business Administration Awards, how long it lasts for, what you're getting out of it, what certificates you're going to do, and we went through the 3 components. The main takeaway from this is to be able to go and have a look at the units, have a look at the framework, and identify units which you would like to complete.